What's up? What's up? What's up? You're listening to her in the huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. This is your girl, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports, and I'm here with Cleveland Kate. And usually coming into the show, Eric always says the voluptuous Rachel Hill. So I didn't get that today. So I don't know what's going on. But I'm going to have to say something to him about that. He needs to keep calling me the voluptuous one, Rachel Hill. So I'm gonna tell him that on the way out the door. What's up, Cleveland Kate? How are you?
I'm good. Am I not voluptuous? No one ever calls me voluptuous. Well,
I'm gonna tell him you need to come
I'm
up
a
with
lot
a
of
nickname for
things,
you.
but voluptuous is not one of them.
How about the sexy Kate Arhart? How about that?
I'm sassy.
So have you gotten
like
used to
sassy.
your hair?
What?
I said, have you gotten used to your hair yet? I like it.
I love it. It's purplish in the front. I like it. I'm used to it. I don't know if everybody else is used to it or not, but I'm used to it.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's cute. It looked even better than the last time I saw it. So
Yeah,
I like that
I like it.
darkness.
It's settled
to it.
in. Yeah.
Yeah, frame your face. So how was your weekend? What did you get into?
Was good. Super busy. Helped my niece. She's redesigning her kitchen.
Okay.
And needs to buy new cabinets and stuff. So I drew all that up for her and went to a cabinet place. We got a quote and it was way more money than I thought it should be. So we're going to go to a couple other cabinet places and get quotes. Went to a fundraiser Saturday night. One of the service organizations in Elyria, the Kiwanis, had a trivia night.
You got to go.
What was that?
It's Sexy Kate from now on, okay?
I'll take it.
It's voluptuous Rachel Hill and the Sexy Kate.
We like that.
Yeah, I like that. That's good.
She's looking like a cover model right
Yes,
there.
she is.
America, if you can see that, Kate looking like a cover model.
Yeah, with my tattoos. That's always cover model material.
That's the new thing, though. Tattoos. I feel like I'm one of the only people in America who don't have a tattoo.
I told you when you're ready, I will take you. We'll get matching ones. It'll be fine.
Eric Nolan said he doesn't have any either.
Brown Super Bowl. You and I'll get one.
I'm scared of tattoos, first and foremost. I already told you how I passed out getting my eyebrows threaded, so I could never survive a tattoo. I told you that story, didn't I?
You did. And let me tell you, the ones on my back were brutally painful. The one on my arm was nothing. My ankles were bad. Like, if you pick the right place, it's really not bad. We'll find a good place for you. And we'll get something to commemorate the Browns going to the Super Bowl if that ever happens. So you don't have to worry about it for a while.
Yeah, I was about to say. So what were you saying about? So sorry, Eric Nolan gave you your nickname, so we got nicknames when he introduces next time. So you're saying that you were helping picking out cabinets because you just been through a renovation not too long ago yourself.
Yeah, 2 hours. We took her back to the same place, and I don't know, prices have gone way up, so we got to shop around a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then Saturday night we did this fundraiser, was a trivia night. Mm-hmm. They were, you bring your own snacks and then you do trivia questions, and then they had little medals for the winners. And it was a fundraiser for a group called the Kiwanis in Elyria. They're a service organization and they raise money for all kinds of different things. So that was fun. And Sunday was just a chill day. It was just, I just found myself moping around the house and being like all sad and stuff because like football's over. And it was like my first Sunday where I didn't have anything to do. And I just sat there lost in the fact that there's no football. So I'm going to shake it off. Next week, I'll be heading to Indianapolis for the Combine. Looks like I'm leaving Tuesday morning. So I'll be able to do the show with you Monday. And we can talk about some, hopefully we'll hear from some folks that'll either call in or, get a hold of you or me on social media and let us know if there's any local boys that are going to be out there that I can get a look at and talk to. Definitely, I think you and I need to put together a list of wide receivers that I need to look at. Don't think they're going to be grabbing quarterback in the draft just because the amount of money that we have invested in Deshaun, maybe late round, but certainly not one of the good hot prospects. So, and I think we definitely need some offensive line depth. We had some injuries this year that hurt us. So, next week we can really talk about who I should look at the Combine. And then when I get back the week later, I'll tell you what I saw and who I like, and we can do a little bit of Combine talk.
Yeah. All right. George Bendicki says the vicious ones, Cleveland Kate and the First Lady of Sports, Rachel Hill. Well, George, we're trying to keep our femininity. People think that
Vivacious.
people might think because we talk sports that we dudes or something like that, but we're all women, and we get dressy and girly and all that other stuff. So we don't want people to think we just out there all manly and stuff. So no, we're girly girls that just happen to like sports. And Nate McWhort says, I'm not a fan of tattoos personally.
I'd love to know why. I'm just curious. I think they mean different things to different people. And mine took me a long time to start getting mine. I got my first one, my Browns helmet, like when I was 40, but I didn't get any of the rest of mine until I hit 50. It's when my daughters and I all got matching ones. And then I've started over the last 3 years, I've gotten quite a few. And they all mean something to me. So I'm just curious if he wants to type out in the chat what his issue is with them. I'm just curious. I'd love to know.
Yeah. I'm not a tattoo person either, because I'm like, there isn't anything that I want to put on my body that I can think of. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and that's why I see, 18-year-olds with them, and I'm like, you understand that's permanent, right? Like, that's what you chose to put on you forever. Like I said, I was 50 before I came up with things that I wanted to have on me forever. And I'm just, my daughters all have them, and they've already admitted that there are a couple they regret. So I feel like when you're that young, you don't go too crazy with it. So
yeah, people that got like tattoos on their face and stuff like that. I'm like, unless you got some type of job that, isn't going to be corporate America or anything like that, you're probably good. But, unfortunately, those type of tattoos, you relegate yourself to certain things. So hopefully, people that get those are self-sufficient.
There's still judgment that's made when people see tattoos. Mine are all in places that I can hide very easily. Nobody would even know I had them. Now, my arm one I got last year is if I wear no sleeves, you can see it. But before then, all my other ones are on my back or my ankles. So it was very easy to keep them covered. Like I said, when a couple people at work, I'd wear short sleeves and they saw this sticking out and they're like, oh, you have a tattoo? And I'm like, I have 13. But yeah, I have one.
Oh my God.
So they're for me, right? So unless you catch me on a beach in a swimsuit, you're not going to be able to see all my ink.
Yeah. But you know what, Kate, you talk about missing football, but when you think about it, football will be back in 4 months, with mini camps and all that other stuff. So it's right around the corner. We're going to.
Well, that's why I like the combines next week and then end of April. So the combines, starts March 1st. I'm going to go down on February 28th, that first week of March. And then end of February is the draft. And then May is pretty much nothing. And then June, you got mini camps and OTAs and rookie camps and stuff starting. So I get it. I tried watching XFL. I can't.
Yeah, I think I slept through that on Saturday. So, but we got plenty of basketball and baseball to keep us busy in between that time. The latest news that came out is Kevin Love is no longer a member of the Cleveland Cavaliers. He wanted the team to buy him out of his contract. And, Kevin Love, his departure is kind of shocking because, he admitted, on the record that he wanted to spend the rest of his career here and retire a Cleveland Cavalier. And unfortunately, that part of the story will not happen. But, what does Kevin Love's departure mean to you?
I'm still trying to understand it. And the fact that he went to Miami. And
well, he hasn't went to Miami just yet. The Philadelphia 76ers are interested in him as well. So he hasn't signed with anybody.
I thought he signed today. I will have to go. I thought maybe I misunderstood it. I thought the article I saw said he signed today.
Okay. I'll Google that, but go ahead.
I don't know. I was hoping that the conversation about them buying him out was because, let's face it, he has not contributed as much to the team this year as he had in past years. On the court. I don't know about off the court. On the court, he just hasn't been that good. And so my thought was maybe they were offering to buy him out so that way they could free up a roster spot, so they could pick up someone that could help us on this championship run that they're on, or at least a playoff run, and that maybe they could then offer Kevin a position in the locker room as on the coaching staff, something like that. I'm really surprised that he wants to go play somewhere else after saying he wanted to finish his career in Cleveland, that he was the one that asked to go. I mean, I know he wasn't getting minutes, but the things were working. The team was gelling. He doesn't need to be getting minutes. We're still winning. And I wonder what was going on in the locker room. We've talked a lot about Donovan Mitchell and some of these other pieces that, they put check their egos at the door, and they understand that this is a team and that we do what we need to do to win as a team. So maybe he wasn't fitting in with that vibe. The Danny Green signing was interesting. I'm not sure I love that. We'll see how it goes. So yeah, I want to see how they do after the All-Star break, how they do, with the chemistry and everything else that we've talked a lot about this year. I think that's important for a team as young as this team is. I wish, reading the articles and with the announcement and stuff coming up, I was surprised that it has been 8 years since he got here. I had to stop and do math, figure all that out, because it was such a big deal for LeBron to come back and for us to get Kevin Love and to get that championship. From that standpoint, I don't care where he goes to play. It's not like there's not a team he could play for that would bother me, that would change what I think of him, that would change how much I appreciate what he did. I don't know if that's just a football thing for me, or because in basketball, those kind of things don't really bother me the way they do in football. But I think his legacy is safe here. I think he's still, the fans still love him. The fans appreciate what he did. I don't know that he gets as much credit as he should. I don't see we're definitely not retiring his jersey. I don't know that we'd have a Kevin Love appreciation night the way we tried to for Kyrie back in the day. So I don't know. I don't know if people understand that stop that he got and just defensively what he contributed to this team. I do. I know you do. So, but I haven't seen anybody like all upset and freaking out in that. I'm very curious as to what led up to him wanting to leave to actually play somewhere else. Because as we said he wanted to finish his career here. So I just have more questions than answers. But as far as his legacy goes, I think he's, top 5 beloved basketball player, especially for those 20-something-year-olds who don't remember Mark Price and Brad Doherty and, those teams, Craig Elo. They don't remember those teams. They just remember the LeBron era. And so it was LeBron, Kyrie, and Kevin, right? So I'm good with it. Are you okay with it? Are you upset? Where are you at?
I wish he hadn't left. I wish he had stayed. I'm just confused about what led to this path where he said that I want to be bought out. I want to go. I understand that his playing time has, decreased, but his age has increased as well. And he kind of is a defensive liability for us out there. He really doesn't play any defense, but, they call him Uncle Kev for a reason. Getting up and down that court isn't necessarily the easiest thing at this point. I think you can still rely on him to be an outside shooter. I think, one of the things, I respect about him is that I feel like his legacy is good, but it has a little bit of complication towards the end where, he became a different player. He had a different body and he had to change and adjust his game, which everybody has to when they play with LeBron. So, he was that big, power forward in the middle and stuff like that. And then he was relegated to becoming a shooter and, having an outside game and things of that nature. So, what he was so good at was taken away from him. He sacrificed that to play with LeBron, to play with Kyrie and enable this team to win a championship. So, we've seen the highest of highs from him. And then we saw the lowest of lows where, he wasn't a great teammate, that one play in which I believe it was an out of bounds play, he didn't play hard on that play and it just, went down. He said that he was mentally ill and stuff like that. So, I respect him for becoming an advocate for people who are mentally ill. But it still wasn't a good look. out there when he wasn't, they were a losing team, and I understand, and they had to rebuild and stuff like that, and he was part of the lowest of lows for this team. He's been there the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. So I understand, not necessarily wanting to go through that, but it is what it is. One thing that we love about LeBron is he can help your team win championships, but once he leaves, he depletes everything and sucks up the room, and there's pretty much no resources left because you made so many trades to get people to play alongside him. We traded Andrew Wiggins, which was supposed to be one of the people who was a future. Andrew Wiggins is doing just fine now. He has some rings, but sacrificing him in that youth. So there's a lot that people sacrifice when they play with LeBron. And sometimes that can leave people a little bitter. So both times LeBron left, he left with the cupboard empty. So, having to go through a rebuild. But if I'm making almost $30 million, I'm going to sit down on that bench, or I'm going to get in there and play those games, even though the team around me sucks, because that, your general manager is going to do something to make it better. And, they want this team to get back to its championship form. So I understand the range of emotions that he had here. I just wish he stayed, being a leader, being a veteran, that takes away veteran leadership from this so young team. You're a champion, you could be there, you can talk to them about different situations. This team is anticipated to make the playoffs. You've been in the playoffs, so you can tell these, not children, they're grown men, but, they're on the younger side of their career. So you can work with them, you can tell them what needs to be done, that knowledge, that experience, those are things that could help this team in the end. So I think it's sad, but I understand he feels like he has a lot more left, and unfortunately he doesn't feel that the Cleveland Cavaliers were taking advantage of that situation by playing him, and now he's going to explore greener pastures elsewhere. He's been with us for 9 years. That's a lot of time to stay loyal. I mean, obviously he got a huge contract. He was in Minnesota for 6 years, and he became a champion when he came here. So no telling what is on the horizon for him, but I wish him well, and I'll forever be grateful to him. Will his jersey be in the Raptors one day? I think it's a possibility. That team is revered, and I think if anything, it would be Kyrie, LeBron, and Kevin's jerseys that would go up off that 2016 roster. But you never know. Kevin, Cleveland loves his heroes, and that stop was something that was so incredible, because we're going to get into that a little bit later. Stephen Curry is still bothered by that stop, even at this point of time. So
yeah.
We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We'll be right back. All right. You are listening to Her and Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. You're listening to Rachel Hill and Cleveland Kate, and we are currently discussing Kevin Love and his legacy. But don't forget that you can listen to us in a multitude of ways. You can listen on your regular radio dial at 95.9. You can download the OVU app so you can listen to us on the go. You can also listen live at WOVU.org, and you can always contact our station at 216-271-0959. I'm here with Cleveland. I think so that he plans on signing with Miami. It doesn't happen just yet, but I guess the 76ers could be in the midst, probably, but it looks like he's going to sign with the Heat. So
I might be a little salty if he signs with the 76ers, because that's who we're chasing, right? They're in third, we're in fourth. That's who we're chasing. Like I feel like, and maybe I'm projecting, but I feel like that would be a shady move for them to go after him, like to ask him trade secrets.
Well, all's fair in love and war.
I don't know. I don't have to like it. All's fair in love and basketball, right?
Yeah, so I'd be doing that too. I'd take my Cleveland. No, he wouldn't take his Cleveland Cavaliers playbook. But I think we were just discussing before we went to break whether or not his jersey could appear in the Raptors, and I think that there's a strong possibility that it could. I mean, I'm not sure.
Just because we don't do that a lot. We don't do that a lot. If you look at the jerseys that are in the Raptors now and the history of this team, there's a lot. There are other comparable players in Cavaliers history who don't have jerseys in the Raptors. So we'll see. We'll see.
I think it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, he was that last remaining member of that 2016 team that went to the finals. So he was still here after LeBron left us and Kyrie decided to dip. And, there's a possibility that we could see him in the playoffs depending on where the Heat finishes up. So one thing is he's always played in cold weather cities. So this will be his first time to play in Miami, in a warm weather city. But he's from LA, right? Isn't he?
I think
LA?
so.
So yeah, he'd be all right. But what was I about to ask you? Have you ever been to Miami before?
Yes.
Okay, I hate Miami. So that was quickly taking off places I want to
fly through there.
Yeah. So
I land there when I need to go somewhere, and then I go. He's from went to high school in Oregon.
Okay.
And then played one season of basketball at UCLA.
Okay, I knew he was from out west.
Yeah.
But, I thought it was
Pac-12.
California because his uncle was like a beach boy.
Well, he played college there, so
yeah.
But he was in high school in Oregon.
Yeah, but I can't stand Miami. It rains pretty much every day, and the sky is pretty much always gray. The humidity is crazy, and the amount of mosquito bites that I had coming back. O positive blood is like the preferred blood type of mosquitoes, and that's what I got. So I was like,
right. Keep telling yourself that, Rach.
No, it's scientifically proven. I swear to God. I swear to God. O positive is the preferred blood type for them to eat on. They like all blood types, but they have an affinity for O positive. So I was like, when I got off that plane back here, it might have been the first time in my life I was like, I'm so glad to be back home. That might have been the first time I ever said that, coming back from Miami. I'm like, it's going to be great. I'm like, I hate it here. So, best of luck to Kevin Love. All-Star weekend, though. So this All-Star weekend, I really didn't watch much of what was going on. So for whatever reason, I decided to catch up on some sleep. I was having an issue with my streaming service, and it kept on buffering. So that was part of the issue, caught a little bit of the slam dunk competition, or whatever. So it's just bad. Everybody was like, this was kind of a good one. I was following my Facebook page and stuff like that. So this one was a little bit more favorable in past years, but pretty much the superstars killed the slam dunk competition and made it bad. So, thanks LeBron, thank you for a title, but thanks for, making All-Star weekend kind of bad by not participating in anything, and he could have did that stuff as a rookie and got it out the way. He looks up to Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant did it. I think Michael Jordan did it. Isn't that when, he got that air, that pose that's taken, he did it. Everybody did it. So, here you come along trying to set a trend for something new. And now you don't have anybody, none of the superstars participated and stuff like that. Like if you lose or something, like it's going to be a bad thing or whatever. So, didn't really get a chance to catch that so much, but, got a chance to catch the game itself. And, it's just a glorified exhibition at this point. There's no defense playing. I don't think anybody got to the foul line at any time, so nobody took free throw shots. Donovan Mitchell did go off for 40 points in that game, in which there was no D. So, he was able to go off. Jason Tatum had like 56 points or something like that. Yeah. So that was a little bit crazy. But did you catch the game yesterday, Kate?
A little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost like they made a lot of changes to the Pro Bowl for football, and they actually made it better. And I was glued to my seat for the whole weekend. This is almost like a flag football game. You're right. There's no defense being played. There's just, I don't know. It's more of it's an honor to have players get put in there, and even to your point, the slam dunk competition, the 3-pointers, some of those other side things, the big names don't do it. I'm like, then why do we even have them?
Mm-hmm.
In football, the only people that don't participate in that Pro Bowl weekend are the guys that are getting ready for the Super Bowl the next week. There's still big names playing in that. And so it's a little frustrating. And I don't really understand the reason why some of these guys think it's beneath them. They can't be afraid of getting hurt. Not in a slam dunk contest or a 3-point contest or whatever. So I wish they'd find some way to change it up so that it would be a little more interesting, to watch from a game standpoint. And I don't know what you could do. Could you do I don't know if you could do a 3-on-3 or I don't know. Put them in wheelchairs. I've seen wheelchair basketball. It's cool as heck.
I think Adam Silver should pick, but he is a players GM, so he's not going to do anything to upset the players. But I think he should pick, who participates in these contests and stuff like that. But he would never be bold enough to do something like that. Like never.
No, it's a few days off, and it's for the down to earth guys. It's still exciting. It's a privilege for them to be there. They go, they play, they show up for the fans, they sign autographs, they do all the stuff, they talk to the media. But there's a certain segment of guys in the NBA that are just kind of jaded and cynical and off on their own. And I don't know, maybe that's a topic for us to explore further. If not this week, then on some future show. Is I don't feel like we see that in the other leagues. In the NFL or the MLB. I was going to say the MBL. I'm like, I'm smooshing the NFL and the MLB together. I don't know. It's odd.
Do you think that the NFL will ever go back to the old Pro Bowl format and actually play a game?
No.
Real game?
No. I think they learned from how well this year the flag football stuff was received by fans and what the ratings were. And then for the great catch, the kick-tack-toe, the dragging the weights, all those kind of things they did in between. I think the players had a good time. There were only a couple minor injuries, like Myles Garrett dislocated a toe. Like they weren't, it was safer. It was fun. Everyone had a good time. The audience had a good time watching. I don't see any reason to change it and go back.
Yeah, I just don't understand why they stopped playing it, after the Super Bowl and stuff like that, like they used to, and you actually had a real game. So, I kind of miss that because I didn't watch any of the Pro Bowl stuff, that weekend either. I'm like, man, they can keep that. It's not, engaging.
It's actually good. You should watch it. I feel like football's different because of the risk of injury. Yes, you can get injured playing basketball. Yes, you can get injured playing baseball. But literally every play in football is physical contact. And there's a much higher risk of you getting injured. So I get why they don't want to play a regular game in that. There's no excuse in baseball, and the All-Star game in baseball is usually pretty good.
the NBA base has never been, from my memory, has never been good. They've never played defense. Maybe you do some fun things with the rules. Maybe you move the 3-point line out farther or something, you know what I mean? Or I don't know, maybe, I don't know, do something different with the scoring rules just to make it a little more fun and interesting. If it's going to be all offense, then, let's make it harder to score and make it, I don't know, make the hoop bigger, make the hoop smaller. I don't know, make the ball bigger. I don't know, mess with something, make it interesting to watch, because it's not even interesting to watch.
Yeah, I like baseballs like home run derby and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the Stars do participate in that. So, they're not above doing that. So I think that's kind of cool as well. But, mainly the All-Star stuff, I'm not really watching, I'm just like, man, I could be doing something else. So, but yeah, Nate. So Nate actually did answer your tattoo question because we're about to take a break. And he says, unless it's the cheap kind, they are permanent. I don't want to get tattooed now and then hate it 30 years down the road. So
fair. That's fair.
That's a fair answer too.
That is.
Yeah, one time I played a joke with my mom telling her I got a tattoo. This was like I was maybe in my early 40s or my late 30s, and like she cussed me out.
I was gonna say, and she didn't kill you?
Yeah, like she was mad. Like I was like, it was just a joke,
Yeah, my mom was very anti-tattoo. I didn't get any until after she had already passed, and that's why I always ask people, because with my mom, it was like a religious moral thing. It's like only people who are gang members and drug dealers and immoral get tattoos. And I'm like, well, no, actually not.
Yeah.
And that's just the old generation. I'm gonna be 57 here in a couple months. So my mom, she would have been, I think, in her 80s. She was born in the 30s. So they were older when they got kids. And so they were older than my friend's parents, and they were just very old school, very, very religious, not so much churchy as religious, and everything was about, you're going to hell. Yeah. I'm not. But I hear that from a lot of people who don't like tattoos, like they associate them with criminals or something. And I'm like, maybe back in the day, but now to me, if they're done well, it's artistic. Like when I see them, I just want to stop people and say, tell me the story of this. Why did you get this? Where did you get it? What does it mean to you? Because I just feel like for so many people now, there's stories behind it. So.
Yeah. This piece of artwork that tells a story. So yeah, I totally get that. So we're going to go ahead and take a break right quick. We're going to come back and we're going to talk some Cleveland Cavaliers. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Her and Huddle, WOVU 95.9 FM. This is your girl, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports, and I'm here with Cleveland Kate. And one of the things that we forgot to talk about when we came back was about Steph Curry still being bothered about 3 years later after Kevin Love stopped. And he never gave credit to Kevin Love for actually stopping him. He just said he could have made a shot and listed all the things he did wrong instead of, giving some credit to, okay, Kevin Love played pretty much close to perfect defense against me and altered my shots. Just I could have did it. I should have did it. I didn't do it.
That's
so
salt.
That's that. Yeah.
That's salt right there.
Yeah. Because,
when you're not man enough to admit that somebody played their best game against you and took you out of your zone. Oh, yeah, no, I'm not giving him any credit. It's all about me. Yeah, that's salt.
And you have four other titles. What you tripping for?
Huh?
You know what I'm saying? I said, you got 4 other titles. What you tripping for?
Yeah. Because that's who he is. That's how he rolls. That's how that whole team is. They're very into their feelings. They get hurt. They get their feelings hurt. And then they feel some kind of way about things. And then I blame that whole generation. There ain't nobody standing around telling them, suck it up, buttercup, like you and I had growing up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's Kevin Love, biggest play of his life, though, right there. So, like we said earlier, congrats to Kevin Love. But, it's crazy to me that Steph Curry was still bothered by that. Move on. You got 4 of the rings. There's always a possibility of you getting more rings and stuff like that. But right now, they are a 500 team. So I love seeing that. I wish the Cavaliers had been able to beat them when they came here a few weeks ago. But that did not happen because it hasn't happened since about 2016 almost. So, whatever. But these Cleveland Cavaliers, they had a tough matchup against the 76ers in Philly a couple days before going into the All-Star break. They were down by 30, eventually losing by 4 points. And that was a big matchup because, you can kind of gauge where they are, against one of the top leaders in the Eastern Conference Finals. You were hoping that they could get in a position to be above the 76ers, but that didn't happen. They struggled to play defense out the gate. I don't know if they kind of had attitude that they were going to play down. They were on a 7-game win streak, so they were probably thinking, hey, we'll be able to go 8-0. But they've always struggled to play in Philly, so they didn't have everything going for them from the very beginning, and they just looked terrible, and they just continued to get worse from there. And then they had the spark back because a couple times they went on like 12-0 runs to get it close, to get it within 10, to get it within 8. And like I said, they finally were able to get it within 4 points, almost coming close to getting it, 2 points. And that's one of the things that, I wish that they had made a move for at the trade deadline was kind of a finisher. You got Donovan Mitchell, but, you need to kind of be able to get somebody else. Danny Green played a little bit in that game. And I don't know if he had a real impact, but that game against the 76ers was a true test for them in the Eastern Conference to kind of see where they are coming from. What do you think about that game, Kate?
I just, that whole week leading, since that New Orleans game being played at 10 o'clock at night and then having to come back up here and play, what was it, the Bulls? It was the Bulls.
They should have lost that
next
game.
Day. And to get through that and just to get through as many games, they just ran out of steam. I wasn't worried about it. I thought that was a really good stretch of games for them. They needed that All-Star break to come in when it did. And they need coaching right now. They need JB to help them figure out how to get through the rest of this season and to keep them in playoff contention, to take a look at the seeding and just keep them motivated and going and doing what they're doing. I think a lot of it's in their headspace now. They clearly have the talent. They have the talent to beat anybody. I struggle with how often their games are decided in the last 4 minutes, the last 4 or 5 minutes. It's like, with very few exceptions, we need to get up off to a lead and go. And that last game, before the All-Star break that you're talking about, we were down and we were down big and we started, I think we got within 4, but by then it was too late. By then you've only got a minute or so left and they just couldn't get up. You can't you can't do those comebacks like that. You've gotta be more consistent throughout the course of the game. And so it's gonna be a lot of JB Bickerstaff the second half, and coaching and making sure that he's keeping them where they need to be and healthy. They got to stay healthy. But I don't know what it is about, Steph Curry and Golden State and that whole situation. I think there's, we talk about it a lot in football season with Ohio State, right? Where when we go to play some of these smaller schools, we get their best game. They get up for that game. And clearly the loss to us in 2016 is still in Golden State's head, because they still come after us like it's the same team and they got something to prove. And we're all like, listen, this is all new people and y'all got 4 more rings. And I don't know why you're coming at me like you got some kind of grudge or something. I mean, it's interesting, but I do not put a lot of stock in those games. I think this team will be able to get up when it needs to. I'm more interested to see how they do when we get back from the break and they see Denver, when they see some of these other West Coast teams that they could end up facing in the finals. Is an interesting test to me. The teams that they don't see very often, and we've had a rest. So let's see how we do, refreshed and ready to go, and we'll see.
Yeah, because one of the things too is that we all know that the NBA referees ref James Harden and Joel Embiid a different way. What JB Bickerstaff should have did was take that ball inside a lot and let Joel Embiid get in foul trouble, so he's sitting down. I don't know what you're going to be able to do about James Harden, because if you blow on James Harden, they're going to call a foul on you. So I hate blaming officials, but they officiate these two players so differently than everybody else. But that should be your strategy, to try to eliminate Joel Embiid and not have him on the floor so much. It's been 7 years. I think Golden State, kind of got to let that go. There was something else. Oh, I wonder how this team is going to rally after losing Kevin Love as well, as they navigate the rest of the season. So I wonder how they're going to respond to that. But big matchup, against Denver, who leads the West, and Nikolai Jokic, who has been MVP the past 2 years, so I think that strategy, they have him at home. So, you have the home court advantage. So one of JB's strategies should be to get him in early foul trouble and have him sitting down so he can't have a huge impact on this game. So this will be a very good test for the Cleveland Cavaliers as well. So,
but the problem with something like that is the Nuggets have other guys that can beat you.
Yeah.
Nikola averages, I think it's like 24, 25 points a game, but you got Jamal Murray who's getting 20 points a game. Aaron Gordon's getting like 18 points a game. Michael Porter Jr. is getting like 17, 18 points a game. You got like 4 guys that are capable of scoring for them. And if one of them's sitting down, there's 3 more on the floor you got to worry about. So I'm all about, in basketball, getting them into foul trouble, but they got to play their men. They got to play their zones. They got to watch what they're doing. They got to not commit turnovers. They got to not commit errors. This is the kind of team that if you just play your game and you don't make any mistakes, you can get by them, because we've got a better shooting percentage. And at home, we'll have the crowd on our side and stuff like that. We need to not make mistakes and beat ourselves. Can't be giving the ball up. Turnovers are the worst.
Yeah, and this team is one of the best defensive teams in all of the NBA. So, that really wasn't on display in Philadelphia. But, hopefully it will be on display at home. And we're going to go ahead and take our final break. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We'll be right back.
Can you hear me, Rachel?
All right, welcome back to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. This is Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports, and I'm here with Cleveland Kate. And we were just discussing some Cleveland Cavaliers basketball. So on the 23rd, they still have a couple of days, but on the 23rd, the Denver Nuggets come into Cleveland and they will play some basketball. So that's where they pick up the second half of the season. And remember, last season, they were, I believe, third in the East last year going into the All-Star break, and then they had a series of injuries that had them fall below that. So
our expectations were not met in the second half of last year. Hoping for better this year. Hoping for healthy, hoping for better. We have Ricky Rubio, we've got Donovan Mitchell, we've got Darius Garland, we've got Okoro, we've got a bunch of guys playing really well, had a nice little break to get healthy from some of the little minor tweaks and aches and pains, and just sometimes you need a break, right? You just need a mental health break. So took a break for a few days. Now we're back at it. We're ready to go.
Yeah. Also wanted to give a shout out to Ben Wallace. He had his jersey retired at Tri-C. He played there before transferring to Virginia Union and then getting drafted, I believe, by the Pistons, where he spent the majority of his time, and he spent time in Cleveland as well. So congrats to him getting that jersey retired. One of the things I did want to talk about was Major League Baseball. So get a little bit, not much going on. You know, everybody's at spring training now. But Will Benson was traded to Cincy from the Guardians. You remember Terry Francona inserted him in a very big moment last year. It was one game, and I can't remember. He inserted him in the bat, and I think the bases were loaded possibly, and he wasn't able to follow through. But I think, Terry Francona having the confidence to insert him in that moment. And I almost asked Terry Francona about that trust that he had in Will Benson, but I was like, I don't feel like getting cussed out. So I didn't ask the question that I had. But he had trust in him in that moment. But, one of the things is he doesn't hit for power. So that's one of the things that the Guardians need, especially out of the back end of that lineup. So they traded him for outfielder Justin Boyd. So Will Benson is going to be on the downside because he's in his later 20s. So he's going to be on the downside of his prime, while Justin Boyd will be on the upside of his prime. So he's probably not going to be a starter at all, because I feel like we have our outfield locked up, but he's going to be one of those reserves for us. So the Browns, how do you feel about Drew Petzing getting hired by the Cardinals, and Deshaun Watson will have a new quarterbacks coach?
The Cardinals made a lot of moves this week. Had to overpay for some people this week. It'll be interesting to see how Drew does for them. I'm fine with getting a new coach. I don't feel like he worked any magic with Deshaun last year. He had plenty of time to have conversations with him. He had plenty of time when that suspension was over to work with him. And he had plenty of time the last 2-3 weeks of the season to fix the things that were wrong with Deshaun. And he didn't. Bye-bye.
Mm-hmm.
Next.
Yeah. Do you think he did a pretty good job with Jacoby, though?
I don't know if he just got lucky and Jacoby was okay. Jacoby was very inconsistent. He would have all this great series, and then he would throw an interception, to a guy where there wasn't a brown jersey anywhere near him. I didn't know if that was him, if he was getting bad quarterback coaching or what. I was just not impressed with any of our quarterback play. I would like to see them play consistently throughout the entire game. And I'm not seeing that. So if that means I need a new coach, then I need a new coach.
You tired today, Boo?
I am, Boo. Girl, I'm so tired.
We only got 8 minutes left. So
I know. I wish him luck in Arizona. He's going to have a whole lot of Kyler Murray to deal with, and who Colt McCoy's out there, and they've got quarterback health issues and all kinds of stuff going on. I'll be curious to see what they do in the draft, if they're one of the teams that surprises people by moving up and just bailing on their quarterback room and going from there. I don't know.
Colt
You don't think Jacoby will be here next year? You don't think they'll work out a deal with him and bring him back to be our backup?
I don't know. I feel like, that somebody else might pick him up, for a backup.
There's a lot of teams who need starters, and there's teams who need backups. I don't know if he'd want to go play somewhere else as a backup, if the Browns would be willing to offer him a deal. But then again, it's all about money, right? So if someone else offers him more money, he would sign somewhere else. I don't know what the Browns are going to do. We'll see.
I think he improved, his chances to make a little bit more money than he had before, based on his performance. So I do feel like, there might be some suitors, and, he can take the opportunity to make a little bit more money.
I feel like we were still in playoff contention. We were still in it when Deshaun came back from his suspension. And that was really all you can ask when your backup is expected to play 11 games. That's really all you can ask him to do, is give me a shot at the division and at the playoffs when my other guy comes back. And he did that. So is he willing to be a backup? Does he agree that that's his role now? Does he still think he can be a starter? It's quarterback. A lot of these guys still think they can be a starter somewhere. I don't know what his dollar value is on the market, but I know he improved it last year by the way he played, by how classy he was in those last, when Deshaun came back and when he had to step aside and, all of that kind of stuff. So I wish him the best. I wouldn't mind seeing him back here as the backup, but I wish him the best.
Yeah, one of my favorite lines was, "I'm not dying." When they talked about the transition from him to Deshaun Watson, so he had to remind everybody that he's still here. But
he still took some snaps. They used him strategically in some areas. You should have used him a little more, in my opinion, on fourth and ones, since he was so good at it. And you get to where you see him come in and the defenses are like, all right, it's Deshaun, quarterback sneak, right? He was like 93%, 94% on his quarterback sneaks. That's when you throw a pass. When you see when you throw Deshaun in, or when you throw Jacoby in and the defense is all up in the box because they're like, oh, he's just going to run it. That's when you fake those kind of things. So you have a lot of options on things you can do with him if you keep him here on the roster. He doesn't have to just sit in the back and hold a clipboard.
Yeah, and make smart choices too. Not like that play where they had him throw the bomb after coming in completely cold on like 4th and 1. I'll never like that play call, but if it's successful, we like it. But want to give a shout out to the Ohio State University and face off at the lake against the University of Michigan. Went really well. They had over 45,000 people attend, which is like a record or whatever.
The weather was fairly nice.
I know.
And I was outdoor in February.
Yeah. And I was kind of upset because I kind of wanted to go. But I already had a commitment already, but I'm hoping, because they were like, hold your horses. This was before the game. They were like, because, the Plain Dealer had did a good, article with them. And they were like, hold your horses on, having this every year or whatever. So I think if they can't, consider it, if they deem it to be successful, because Michigan and Ohio State have already played so many times this season already. So, if they deem this as successful, maybe, one year they can play at Ford Field, and then they can play back at Cleveland Brown Stadium. So the Ohio State Buckeyes did defeat Michigan in that game 4-2 as well, and it's the equidistant location pretty much for Michigan fans as well as Ohio State fans. But I heard it was put on, it was done really well. They had Script Ohio on the ice, so I don't know how you accomplish that without falling, especially on those sharp turns that they make. Yeah. So
they have shoes you can wear. Like when you see that, you watch curling, right?
Yeah.
There's
not really. But
there's these little booty things you can wear. So you slide your feet, you don't step. And so that way you can stay upright. My daughter and her fiance went. They said it was a blast.
Oh,
they
really?
Had an absolute blast. Yeah.
Oh, good. And the tickets were relatively cheap as well.
Yep.
So I ended up finishing what I was doing, and I still didn't go. So I'm kind of upset because I talked about possibly going. But
well, I would have gone with you. If it's hockey and you want to go, call me. I'll go.
Okay, yeah. So maybe when they do this in a couple years, we go or whatever. So I wish I knew, but I just wasn't thinking because I was like, I already got something else going on.
Right.
But congratulations to them pulling off that endeavor. And like I said, it was a really good article about how they actually pulled it off, what they had to do to get that ice in there, what they had to build first and all that other stuff. So that was really cool. And it was the atmosphere was kind of like being at Ohio State football game. So I'm super excited about that and the possibility that something like this could come back since it was so successful. And then on the Dow side, because we got 2 minutes left, Ohio State basketball, they're just terrible right now under Chris Holtman. They pretty much got mollywopped against Purdue yesterday, 82-55. Kate, we got 2 minutes left. How long do you think Chris Holtman is going to be coach of the Buckeyes?
What time is it?
How much longer?
If I had my way, about 7 p.m. tonight. I'm done. I'm done. They haven't been relevant, since Thad Matta was there? Yeah. I'm like, come on. I expect better from Ohio State. I know we're not, Kentucky, Duke, Georgetown, North Carolina, those are the big name schools for basketball. But Ohio State has had some respectable basketball programs in the past. We need to get our basketball game up where our football game is. Mm-hmm. We need to, at least from a Big Ten standpoint, we need to get ahead of Purdue and Indiana and start really caring about basketball. And that starts and ends with the head coach. They need to get someone in here who knows the game and who can recruit and get it going. Make a commitment to basketball like the way they've made a commitment to football.
And I agree. And that's our time. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We are out of here. Hey, girly, great show. Thank you so much. And I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Okay. See you. Bye.